Lysergic acid diethylamide, LSD. It's a mind-bending drug, an astoundingly powerful hallucinogen that played a pivotal role in the cultural upheaval of the 1960s.
He thought that he had found a substance that wouldn't just change behavior, it would change culture.
While a generation was turning on, tuning in, and dropping out, powerful forces within the American government thought that LSD might be the ultimate chemical warfare weapon. They set out to prove it, often with tragic results.
It's hard to believe that a U.S. government agency, the CIA, would do things with drugs like the Nazis did during World War II.
2,000 years ago, the Greeks held an annual rite at Eleusis in which they drank a sacred liquid called kykeon that induced hallucinogenic visions. Those who took it were said to have changed. Was popular interest in LSD a modern-day version of the ancient mystery schools? Join us for Getting High, a history of LSD.
Today, LSD's inventor, Albert Hofmann, after a long and distinguished career as a research chemist, is retired. The mysteries of LSD.
I'll take acid every time. It's a short to go on to better realities and understand it with respect and say, okay, the door has been opened. This is the key that opened it.
After nearly 50 years and living in Switzerland, Ken Kesey is still writing, lecturing, and touring, and still exploring the mysteries of LSD.
I'll take acid every time. It's a shortcut to enlightenment that we were given at the end of this century for those of us who would like and say, okay, the door has been opened. This is the key that opened it.
After nearly 50
I think that it did change the fabric of society. I sincerely do. Maybe not in the dramatic way that they might have anticipated, but certainly in subtle ways. We're never going to be the same as we were before 1960.
Aldous Huxley died on November 22, 1963. He soared into the afterlife. Years of study, Dr. Oscar Janiger is also still involved with the drug.
I don't think it was a...
To go on to better realities and understand it with respect.
After receiving his last request, an injection of LSD. Timothy Leary's imprisonment in 1970 did nothing to diminish his enthusiastic advocacy for LSD.
Leary was busted for pot. The judge declared him the most dangerous man in the world. And he was sentenced to, I believe, 10 years in prison. The Weather Underground shortly thereafter broke him out.
And went on a kind of wild tour de force through Africa, Europe, Asia. Ended up being nabbed again by federal narcotics agents in Afghanistan, of all places. In 1973, he was brought back to the United States and given even a longer prison term. He was facing a really long time in prison. Eventually, he was let out in 1976 because apparently he cooperated to some degree with federal authorities. He toned down his drug advocacy in the late 70s after he got out of jail. But he became one of the early pioneers for computers and software. He became an advocate of space travel and space migration. And to the day he died, he was a controversial person, saying controversial things.
The most identifiable icon of the psychedelic culture, Timothy Leary, dies on May 30th, 1996.
Do you have the freedom to do with your nervous system what you want, which was always Tim Leary's great cri de coeur. And in a culture that accepts the manipulation of our consciousness, of our psyche, from so many different agents, from Prozac to Valium to caffeine to chocolate to whatever, is there a place for LSD? Yeah, I think there should be.
The cultural upheaval that accompanied widespread use of LSD in the 60s halted most serious research in the drug, and popular use declined. But according to a recent federal survey, there now appears to be a sudden upsurge of interest in psychedelic drugs, particularly among high school students. All the more reasons, some scientists say, for resuming research into the properties of the most potent hallucinogen in the world. Now, let's see what's coming up on the next History's Mysteries. I'm Arthur Kent for the History Channel. Thanks for watching. Discover more about this and every History's Mysteries topic at historychannel.com.